Welcome into Mindful Monday. We're going to be reading out of Being Peace by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh. This is a great book. I say that about all of his books, but I do mean it. This book is about embodying peace, about how to take your mindfulness practices and use them to enrich yourself and enrich the world around you. And I really enjoyed this book. I read this pretty early on in my meditation practice, and there were several elements of this book that I've taken with me throughout the years as a teacher. And so I'm going to share some of those today for our Mindful Monday. We'll start on the very first page, the first chapter. I wrote about this the other day in my app. Every day in the little app that I developed, I write a morsel, a mindfulness lesson, a quote out of a book, a shadow work prompt, something. And I wrote about this the other day. He says, life is filled with suffering, but it is also filled with many wonders, such as the blue sky, the sunshine, and the eyes of a baby. To suffer is not enough. We must also be in touch with the wonders of life. They are within us and all around us, everywhere, anytime. I always found a lot of hope in that, because that's part of the duality of life, the good and the bad, the suffering and the joys. They exist in these ebbs and flows, intertwining with each other. Sometimes they exist at the same time. And mindfulness is what allows us to take a step back and absorb it all, to observe and not let it drown us, because life is hard for everybody. And he goes on to say that life is both dreadful and wonderful. To practice meditation is to be in touch with both aspects. And one of the practices that he teaches and that I also teach is just coming home to the body, breathing in and just being aware of what's going on inside of there, whatever feelings are occurring. And, meditation is not running away. It's not ignoring feelings. Meditation is quite the opposite. He says, meditation helps us return to our true self. Practicing meditation in this kind of society is very difficult. Everything seems to work in concert to try and take us away from our true self. We have thousands of things like videotapes and music to help us be away from ourselves. Practicing meditation is to be aware, to smile, to breathe. Those are on the opposite side. So we go back to ourselves in order to see what is going on, because to meditate means to be aware of what is going on, and what's going on inside of you is very important. If we don't know what's going on inside of us, if we're not aware of how we feel, if we're not aware of our patterns, then we have no ability to control our actions. We have no ability to change anything. Once we bring awareness to ourselves, we bring awareness to our thought processes, we bring awareness to our feelings and the roots of those feelings, we have the opportunity to make changes. The changes that a lot of people come to see me to make, they always begin with going back inward with yourself. They always begin with you. The book that I'm reading out of is Being Peace by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh. And I've been sharing books on Mondays for off and on probably 3 or 4 years. And I brought back Mindful Monday recently because I love to read, and all of these books have helped me immensely. Learning how to sit with myself, learning how to be with my feelings. Those are things that have enabled me to work through a lifetime of trauma, It's helped me to deal with my addiction. It's helped me to deal with my anger. And it's really given me this different perception of myself and the world around me. And I think that, the perception that I had of myself from messages from childhood was really, really negative. And so I internalized a lot of that. And mindfulness and meditation and journaling, tapping into myself, those things have helped me to rewire and rewrite how I perceive myself, how I feel about myself, the way that I exist within myself. Mindfulness and meditation and shadow work are things that help alter how I exist within myself. And that is what has changed my outer life, is how I have changed my inner life. I don't think that you can have sustainable outer changes without having deep inner changes, without having those deep connective experiences with yourself. I think that's how you have sustainable esteem, in my humble opinion. Brian said, glad to see you're able to go live. I know, right? Last week was rough. But we're here. We'll see. Last week when I was doing this live, I got cut off pretty much in the middle due to violent and criminal behavior. And I was talking about mindfulness, so I mean, I used to do really criminal things, but now I teach mindfulness. And sometimes when I talk about my life in the past, that can be abrasive to people, they don't expect it, but that's life, and that's a big part of how I teach, is my own story of mindful awareness, because 15 years ago, I was heavily addicted to narcotics and committing crimes. I was a very mean person, and I spent a lot of time in destructive behavior patterns that I maybe wasn't fully aware of. And when I started to work on myself, when I started to show up for myself, I got sober first, and then I started to address some of my inner turmoil. Little by little, I started to change. I started to become more calm, peaceful. The longer that I practiced meditation, the happier that I've become, the more stable I've become. And I don't think that I would have been able to work through the trauma of my childhood without having a way to be with myself and calmly and safely tend to my inner child. You know what I mean? And mindfulness has given me a way to go inward and access that inner being and give her comfort, give her love as I work through the challenges of the past. I'm going to read out of Feelings and Perceptions, out of Being Peace by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh. And he says, every day we have many feelings. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are sorrowful, sometimes we are angry, irritated, or afraid. And these feelings fill our mind and heart. One feeling lasts for a while, and then another comes, and then another, as if there is a stream of feelings for us to deal with. Practicing meditation is to be aware of each feeling. We call seeing a natural feeling, yet we call seeing, like seeing with your eyes, a natural feeling, yet someone who has lost her sight would give anything to be able to see. And if she suddenly could, she would consider it a miraculous gift. We who have eyes capable of seeing many forms and colors are often unhappy. If we want to practice, we can go outside and look at the leaves, the flowers, the children, the clouds, and be happy. Whether or not we are happy depends on our awareness. When you have a toothache, you think that not having a toothache will make you happy. But when you didn't have a toothache, you were often still very unhappy. And I think about that in the context of, we think that if there are certain circumstances outside of ourselves that we will achieve happiness. If I'm not poor, if I'm prettier, if I'm smarter, once I achieve this accomplishment, once I have this job, once I do blah, 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 blah. We think that once we have that thing, that it will make us happy. But happiness is only found within ourselves and within the present moment. And that's what he's talking about whether or not we are happy depends on our awareness. Your awareness of what's going on inside of you, being aware of those waves on the inside and riding them out, being with yourself and not getting lost in the ebbs and flows of human existence. And I just got home from a retreat this past weekend. I hosted a wellness retreat, and our focus was shadow work, and we meditated a lot. And one of the things that we talked about a lot was going inward to find those things that we seek on the outside. Companionship, love, connection. We seek those things on the outside really furiously, and it leads to dissatisfaction. We become addicted to drugs, relationships, shopping, food. There's lots of things that humans use to try and feel better. And this weekend we were really focused on cultivating from that place inside by taking breaths and going inward and building up that tranquil place within. Thich Nhat Hanh, sometimes I've heard him and his students refer to it as the island of peace within. I tend to think of my inner place as a secret garden, like the movie The Secret Garden was one of my favorite movies as a child. And so my inner place is this garden. You can go to this place within to seek refuge and cultivate joy and love and happiness within your own being. And that's what he's talking about. And this whole chapter on feelings and perceptions is really great, because if you are anything like me, I get very caught up in my feelings. And when I get really caught up in my feelings, I take them as facts and I allow them to rule my life. I have a feeling and I think, that's it. That's what it is, and I get really trapped on that perception. Mindfulness and meditation is what allows me the ability to pause first and then take a step back from whatever the situation, feeling that's making me feel activated, so that I can have a choice. I can operate from a non-reactive place. And one of the ways of, sitting with yourself, because it can be really hard. It's definitely much easier said than done. Sitting with yourself, sitting with your feelings, being with yourself. I say those words a lot, and it's not easy. It takes a lot of practice. And Thich Nhat Hanh, the reason why I'm always speaking about his teachings and reading out of his books is because these skills saved my life of tending to myself and trying to change my perception of these bad things within myself. The anger, the depression, the anxiety, these have always felt like really bad aspects of myself, these shadow traits. And I've spent my whole life trying to get rid of them, taking medication to numb them, going to therapy, going to anger management, going to treatment centers and mental health facilities to try and mend these darknesses within myself. And the one thing that I've found to be the most soothing, the most beneficial, and is responsible for who I am now is mindfulness. And changing how I see those darker aspects of myself is a huge part of that. Because those shadow parts of you, those traits of yourself that are embarrassing and filled with shame and that you don't want to talk about, those are still parts of you. And changing the way that you see them within you is really life-changing. And so this is in the context of anger. And he says, I have to deal with anger with care, with love and tenderness, with non-violence, because anger is me. I have to tend to my anger as I would tend to a younger brother or sister, with love and care, because I myself am anger. I am in it. I am it. In Buddhism, we do not consider anger, hatred, greed as enemies that we have to fight or destroy to annihilate. If we annihilate anger, we annihilate ourselves. Dealing with anger in that way would be like transforming yourself into a battlefield, tearing yourself into parts. One part taking the side of the Buddha and one side taking the side of Mara. If you struggle in that way, you do violence to yourself. You cannot become compassionate to yourself, and you will not be able to be compassionate to others. When we get angry, we have to produce awareness. I am angry, anger is in me, and I am anger. That is the first thing to do. The first thing to do when you have a peak of an emotion is to acknowledge that it exists within you. That is how you mend that fractured view of self. When you stop running away from feelings that we all feel. We all feel hatred. We all feel anger. We all feel jealousy, shame, fear, abandonment. We all have these feelings inside of us that are scary and big. But if you cannot turn away, if you can turn towards that feeling with curiosity, with the energy of compassion, if you can just acknowledge that it exists with curiosity, you can do yourself a big service, because you will stop denying yourself to be seen. When we have those big peaks of feelings, those are parts of ourselves asking and begging to be seen. So when you turn away from those parts of self, you reinforce those feelings of abandonment, those feelings of not feeling seen, those feelings of being unloved and unwanted, because you are internally turning away from yourself when you need someone the most. You need yourself the most. And so to change your perception of those dark shadow traits and look at those items within yourself, and think of tending to them like you would a brother or a sister, a baby, a puppy, a kitten, whatever is meaningful to you and feels very tender and fragile. Those are great ways to reframe the perception that you have. When I started working really heavily on my anger, I thought of my anger as a newborn baby. That's what Thich Nhat Hanh talks about in several of his books. And I would picture this ball of anger, this rage within me as a newborn baby crying out to be held. And embrace that feeling and allow the energy of calm, the energy of mindfulness to come in. Sometimes when I've done that, it's made me feel really emotional and cry and release a lot of feeling, because under the anger is something else, Under the anger is usually suffering, it's usually pain. I'm actually drinking coffee during our mindfulness live, which is rare for me, but I needed the caffeine. I'm coming off of the retreat. I'm a little tired, not as tired as I normally am from the big ones. I have hosted 30-person retreats, and this was a 10-person retreat, so it was definitely less exhausting. But I personally did a lot of shadow work. We did a lot of work on how you view yourself, which is why I'm still reading out of this one. I am still kind of stuck on that train of thought of, the way that I view myself is definitely skewed. It's impacted on my relationships from the past, the relationships I've had with my parents, the way that I view myself when I'm working is definitely hypercritical. And so this weekend when I hosted a wellness retreat, I'm working all weekend. And there were so many moments where I thought to myself, this isn't going well. And there was nothing going bad, but I, as a perfectionist, whatever I do, here's the bar, but then if I reach that, I'll raise it really quickly so that I never quite meet expectation. And I journaled about that really heavily this past weekend, about how crippling it is to be a perfectionist, and to continue to ask myself this series of questions is what accomplishment will be enough? If you're an overachiever, a perfectionist, I ask myself a lot, and I journal this prompt frequently, what accomplishment will make me feel enough? What can I do that would make me feel good enough? And a lot of the times when I start to write out, I come to the conclusion that I am good enough. I am already accomplished, and I can take a breath. And so, that is part of the value of pause, of going inward, of asking yourself these deeper questions of, how can I see myself less harshly? Which, P.S., we have a full moon tomorrow. Thank you, Kay. And full moon in Virgo, which if you have any perfectionism, any self-judgment, this is a good time to really start diving into that. Journal about it. Ask yourself why you feel like you're not good enough. Ask yourself whose voice in the back of your head tells you that you're stupid or that you're never going to accomplish anything. Because when I've dove really heavily into, whose voice is that in my head telling me that I'm a shit, I have definitely discovered it's not my own. Those narratives within myself that make me feel and believe like I'm not good enough are not my own voice. Those voices within yourself that tell you that you are worthless, that tell you that you're not going to accomplish anything, those are not the sounds of your own narrative. And meditation and shadow work are ways to uncover what is your inner voice. When you start to rebuild that inner world by going inward and listening to yourself, sifting through what's going on inside of you, you'll start to hear your own voice louder and louder and louder. And the more connected that we are to ourselves, the more that we can extend that connection outward. And that was another theme of this weekend was, as we connect inward to our shadow selves, to our inner selves, as you connect more inward, you have the ability to connect more deeply and authentically outward. You can have connections without, having a good inner connection. However, they won't be to the depths that our souls crave as humans. As human beings, we crave deep soul-to-soul connection. That's just kind of how we're wired. However, when we are deeply disconnected from ourselves, that affects our connection and ability to authentically connect with others. If you're disconnected from yourself, number one, you're not really sure what you like. Number two, you're not sure how to set boundaries. If you've ever been disconnected from self, then you know what that feels like. It's unsure. And when you're unsure, it's really hard to confidently and openly connect with somebody else. You're always worried they might leave. You're always worried that they're judging you. When you're disconnected from self, you're reaching outward instead of reaching inward. I got a caramel blondie. That's always my drink from the coffee place. And I go to Black Rock. I've still been boycotting Starbucks for years, and their coffee is just gross. This coffee isn't that great either. Sorry, BlackRock. Anyway, and connecting inward and connecting outward is the heart of any mindfulness practice. Good morning, Gypsy. And that is, I think, is what has really helped soothe a lot of the flames within. I am a former angry person, the whole punching in the wall type anger. And I think what has helped soothe a lot of those flames is opening my heart space of connecting inward, connecting outward, and that's the heart of any meditation practice. And as an Indigenous person, that's the heart of my culture as well, is interconnectivity. And so, remembering our connections to each other can help soften us as well. So I'm going to read this. He says, just as a piece of paper is a fruit, the combination of any elements can be non-paper elements. The individual is made up of non-individual elements. If you are a poet, you will see clearly that a cloud floating in the sky is in this sheet of paper. Without a cloud, there will be no water. Without water, the trees cannot grow. And without trees, you cannot make paper. So the cloud is in there. The existence of this page is dependent on the existence of a cloud. The cloud and the paper are so close. And if you look deeply, you can see that in anything. You can look at the connections that we have to absolutely everything. And when we can remember our connections, it can invoke compassion, which when we care about each other, we don't want to hurt each other. And that is something that we deeply need in our society at this point. And he has some meditations too in this book. I highly recommend this one if you are getting into your mindfulness practice and need some morsels. Reading books every day was how I connected to the practice and how I learned about mindfulness. I read every single day, and I still do. I read books, I listen to podcasts, and anytime I'm feeling sad, I open my little pocket Thich Nhat Hanh book wherever I am and thumb through it and try and give myself a morsel of hope. Because that is what works better for me than getting on my phone and doom scrolling or being in my head and feeling bad. I get out of it by consuming something other than my own mess. And I harp on this every live, every chance I open my mouth. I always say practice, 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 practice. Because that is how you become more mindful. I think that's how you kind of get good at anything, is that you have to practice it. You have to do it often. So if you are thinking, I can't do that, I can't meditate, you can, just practice. Start small, start digestible, just breathe. That was how I started, and now I can sit in a 9-hour sitting meditation. So you could do that too. And when I started my mindfulness practice, when I started meditating, I had postpartum anxiety and depression. I had a very young baby. I was so stressed out. It was in the middle of a global pandemic. I was suicidal. I was really feeling some type of way. And I started my meditation practice. I started by breathing. I would breathe into my body. I would say, I am breathing in. I am breathing out. And I would just repeat that. Again and again and again. Sometimes for 30 minutes while I was doing the dishes. I was too anxious to sit down for sitting meditation. So I would do breathing into my body while I was doing the dishes, while I was vacuuming, while I was folding laundry. And I just made it a practice and a habit of coming home into my body any chance I could get. Hello, I'm home. And I would just come back into the center of my being again and again and again and again and again. And over time, that became a place of peace, a place of calm. That inner world that I used to run from and do drugs to get away from started to become a place of softness within me. And that is the jewels of practice, is the more that you tend to yourself, the more benefit that you get out of the practice. So practice often, as often as you can. Even now, I don't do sitting meditation every day. I do my breathing into my body every day. I do yoga every day as another form of meditation for me. And that is how you learn to meditate, is by practicing meditation. And walking meditation is another really beneficial way to do meditation. So I'm going to read you what he has to say about walking meditation. He said, when we walk in the meditation hall, we make careful steps very slowly. But when we go to the airport, we are quite a different person. We walk differently, less mindfully. How can we practice at the airport and in the market? That is engaged Buddhism. Engaged Buddhism does not mean to use Buddhism to solve social or political problems, protesting against the bombs and protesting against social injustice. First of all, we have to bring Buddhism into our daily lives. I have a friend who breathes in between telephone calls, and this helps very much. Another friend does walking meditation in between business appointments, walking mindfully in between buildings in downtown Denver. Passerbys smile at him, and his meetings, even with difficult persons, often turn out to be very pleasant, very successful. When we are able to bring the practice from the meditation hall into our daily lives, how we can practice to penetrate our feelings, our perceptions during daily life. We don't deal with our perceptions and our feelings only during sitting practice. We have to deal with them all the time. We need to discuss among ourselves how to do it. Do you practice breathing in between phone calls? Do you practice smiling while cutting carrots? Do you practice relaxation after hours of hard work? These questions are very practical. If you know how to apply Buddhism to dinner time, leisure time, sleeping time, I think Buddhism will become engaged in your daily life. And that's what I was talking about engaging in the practice when you're not in the Sangha, when you're not in the meditation hall, when you're not in the spiritual group or the wellness retreat, practicing just being with yourself, just breathing into your body and being aware of that. I am aware of my in-breath going into my body. I am aware of my out-breath leaving my body, bringing awareness to what's happening right now, pulling your mind away from the past and away from the future and back into your body, back into the breath of now. And that's really helped a lot with my PTSD too, my CPTSD. When I get really activated, when my mind gets really caught in patterns of the past, when I get obsessed with thinking about why my parents don't blah, 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 my mind can get really trapped in those modes of thinking, and it becomes this cycle of despair. And this breathing practice helps to pull my mind away from that and back into the present moment. Breathing in, I'm in my body, in the now, I am here. Breathing out, giving yourself a cue of I am safe or whatever you need. Usually I tell myself I am an adult, I am safe, I am secure, I'm 38 is another one that I say often, just reminding myself that I'm in control of my own mind, my own body. If you have trauma, if you have, PTSD, CPTSD, then you know that when you get in those modes of being overwhelmed by feeling, when things come up, when memories and emotions flood back from the past, in your mind and body, you are transported back into a time where you had no power. And so giving yourself a mantra that you are powerful, that you are an adult, that you are blank age, that you are a homeowner, a taxpayer, whatever you need to do to remind yourself that you are a fully functioning adult with control of your mind. Those are great ways to bring yourself back. Remind yourself that you're here in the now and not in the past. What else do I have marked in here? I've had some good ones. He has the 5 mindfulness trainings in here too. I should make a video series on that. The 5 mindfulness trainings of Engaged Buddhism are really beautiful, and I've been studying Thich Nhat Hanh and his work for about 7 years now. I'd love to make my way out to France to go to Plum Village, which was his monastery before he passed, and meet the monks there. I listen to all their podcasts, I read all their books, I love their work. It's really saved my life. And I've written them emails before Plum Village, just being like, thank you so much for everything that you put out there. I love Thich Nhat Hanh, thank you. And they did write me back, which was really, really sweet. So I'm going to probably keep emailing them and saying thank you, because they're really nice people. If you have a chance to read this book, I highly recommend it. We have been reading out of Being Peace by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh. This is probably one of the Mindful Mondays where I could theoretically give us 2 books. At the retreat, we read out of quite a few. We read out of Sacred Instructions, they're over here. Sacred Instructions, Loving Kindness, Reconciliation, Welcoming the Unwelcome. Ooh, Radical Compassion is a good one. I should go grab that one. And we'll talk about rain for the last part of this live. Because Tara Brach is a great teacher. She's still alive too. She's living, she still teaches. She's frequently on podcasts. I don't know if she has her own. I've heard her on Sharon Salzberg's podcast, on Duncan Trussell's podcast. She does classes with Jack Kornfield. I've taken several of Jack Kornfield, who is another mindfulness Buddhist teacher. I've taken several of his online mindfulness teacher classes. He has a free one, The Basics of Mindfulness, that's really good. I highly recommend it. But I wanted to share a technique for tending to yourself. We just spent the past 40 minutes talking about tending to yourself and going in that little place of peace. And Tara has a really great technique for doing that called RAIN. And it's out of her book, Radical Compassion. She also has another book called Radical Acceptance, which is an equally wonderful book. We'll dive into that one soon, maybe next week. We'll just go back-to-back Tara weeks. Maybe I'll tag her and be like, hey girl. I think I'm still a pretty young mindfulness teacher. I'm 38. So in my head, when I hit my 60s, I'll be hanging out with Tara Brach. Maybe I'll be the next big mindfulness writer. I'm putting that into the universe out loud. Anyway, this book is wonderful, and she has this technique for going inward, for tending to that place of pain with compassion, and it's called RAIN is the acronym. RAIN stands for recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture, and I really love it. She says, RAIN creates a clearing. We all get lost in the dense forest of our lives, entangled in incessant worries and planning and judgment of others, and in our busy striving to meet the demands and solve problems. When we're caught in that thicket, it's easy to lose sight of what matters most. We forget how we long to be kind and open-hearted. We forget our ties to this sacred earth and to all living beings, and in a deep way, we forget who we are. This forgetting is a part of being in a trance, a partially unconscious state that, like a dream, is disconnected from the whole of reality. When we're in this trance, our minds are narrowed, fixated, and usually immersed in thought. Our hearts are often defended, anxious, or numb. Once you recognize the signs of this trance, you begin to see it everywhere, in yourself and in others. You are in a trance when you are living on autopilot, when you feel walled off and separate from those around you. When you are caught up in feeling fearful, angry, victimized, or deficient. The good news is that we all have the capacity to free ourselves. When we are lost in a forest, we create a clearing simply by pausing and turning from our clamoring thoughts to become aware of our moment-to-moment experience. I call this wakeful and immediate process presence. It is also referred to as consciousness, spirit, Buddha nature, true nature, the awakened heart mind, and many other names. When we've reconnected fully to presence, we can open to what is really going on inside of us, the changing flow of sensations, feelings, and thoughts without any resistance. This allows us to live our life moments with clarity and compassion. The shift from being lost in unconscious mental and emotional reactivity to inhabiting our full presence is an awakening from that trance. As we begin our journey together, the 4 steps of RAIN, recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture, will be our tool for arriving in presence. I love her. That was the first little page of RAIN, or of Radical Compassion. And so she goes on to talk about RAIN. How do you do RAIN? The first part of RAIN is recognize. So how do you recognize what's going on inside of you? First, you have to stop running from it. You have to turn towards it, is the first step of RAIN. Recognize starts the minute you focus your attention on whatever thoughts, emotions, feelings, or sensations you are experiencing right now. The key question here is, what is going on inside of me? So when you are in the peak of an emotion, pause and ask yourself, what's happening? What do I feel? Try to give a name to the emotion. I should write this down, but I'm going to upload a feelings chart to my website. I don't have that on there yet. Let's make a note so I don't forget. I'll do that when we're done. Feelings chart to site. I'll add that to my website so that if you don't have a good feelings chart, this is a really good one that you can print and color if you want. A feelings wheel, feelings chart has the core feelings, anger, happy, whatever. And then it has offshoots, so you can go a little deeper. So maybe it's not anger that you feel, maybe it's disappointment. And if you can go a little bit deeper, maybe it's not disappointment, maybe it's actually abandonment. So the feelings wheel can be a great tool for just recognizing what is happening inside of your being. The next step is allow. So when you recognize what's going on, I'm going to keep using anger as an example because it's just an easy one for me, a former angry girl. You recognize the anger that's going on inside of you, and then you allow it to be there. Hello, anger, I see you. Don't try to fight it. Don't turn away. Allow it to exist within you. Give it space. The next step is to just let it be. Whatever thoughts, emotions, feelings, or sensations you have just recognized, initiate it gently by asking yourself, can I be with this? Can I let it be? Thich Nhat Hanh has the skill of saying hello. Just say hello to it. When you recognize it, when you see that emotion within you that's causing you distress, allow it to just be there for a moment. We wish some of these feelings would just go away, but allowing can include the reality of your no, the fact that you really hate the way that you're feeling. That is okay. When an emotion comes up and you think, I really hate this, that's okay. That's okay. Let it be. Let it be there with your hatred. Allowing yourself to just move through the peaks and valleys of the feelings is how they have less control of your life. Just allow it to be there. Many of my students help themselves let it be by mentally whispering an encouraging word or phrase. And those are those mantras that I was talking about. If you are in distress when you're trying to allow your feelings to just be, you can offer yourself words of encouragement or love. It's okay. We'll get through this. It's only temporary. Whatever you need to move through that experience. Allowing feelings to be there doesn't make them go away. However, it does shift our relationship with those feelings. The more that you can show up for yourself when you're having big feelings, you can shift your relationship with them. It won't be a relationship of fear and animosity. It will be a relationship of care and curiosity as you continue to apply these principles inward. The next part of rain is investigate. I forgot for a second. I'm still thinking about the other part. My brain's elsewhere. Investigate. When you are looking into these feelings of self, that's the shadow work part, the investigation part. I see this part of myself. I see this anger. So be with it, allow it to be there, and then follow the roots downward. Where is this coming from? Am I actually angry, or am I feeling something else? That's another way that you can utilize the feeling wheel, is by asking yourself, am I actually angry, or is there a secondary emotion going on here? Writing is a great way to investigate too. When you're investigating how you feel, to write it down. Write down exactly how you're feeling. I feel so angry because so-and-so did this and it's so blanked up. Go into it, pour it out, get that energy out of you, is a good way to investigate what's happening. That may be a trail for you to follow and see, aha, I can see a pattern. The last part of RAIN is nurture, which I think is the hardest part of this acronym. Nurturing ourselves during hard times feels super unnatural and weird if you are not a person who grew up self-soothing, or you don't have a history of knowing how to self-soothe. I don't have a history of self-soothing. I have self-soothed with lots of very negative things in my life, and I did not know how to self-soothe in a good way, and it felt really weird at first. So I just want to say that if you're like in the midst of your self-soothing and you think, God, this is stupid. Yes, but it works. And a great way to nurture yourself, and I've said this on so many videos, but I think that it's really beneficial and impactful. If you can touch the essence of your being, a hand on your heart, a hand on your belly, breathing into your body, and just say nice things to yourself when you're having the experience. It's okay that you feel sad. When I've had the sting of abandonment come up, I breathe into my body and I remind myself, it's valid that I feel abandoned by my parents. You know? You can breathe in and validate your experiences. You can breathe in and give comfort to those places of self that feel lost, that feel unseen, that feel unloved. That nurture part of this acronym, RAIN, is about offering that love and comfort to that deep well of suffering within. This is a good book. I use RAIN a lot when I teach in treatment centers. That's one that I take to people who struggle with addiction. RAIN is an absolutely brilliant acronym for following yourself into your own body, for recognizing what's happening inside of you, allowing it to be there, investigating where it came from, and nurturing yourself until that feeling dissipates is a really great skill to have if you struggle with addiction. So that's one I take with me to the treatment centers. That is found in Dr. Tara Brach's book, that was hard to say, Radical Compassion. And she has some great stories in here too of questions and answers, because she's also a therapist, about people who have given questions about, you know, what do I do in this scenario? How do I practice RAIN if this is going on? How do I release negative beliefs about myself using RAIN? She has all of those in this book, so I highly recommend this book if you really struggle with your inner narrative, if you struggle with allowing yourself to move through your experiences, move through your feelings. This is a great book for that. We did it, you guys. We did a whole mindfulness live without me getting booted out and banned. If you are new to me or need a refresher, on my website there are lots of shadow work prompts. There are tons of shadow work questions. There are shadow work courses. There are mindfulness courses. Most of them are free. I have an online library that has, I write something for every full moon, every new moon, every big astrological event. Sometimes I write about just ways to tend to yourself, different mindfulness stuff that you can take, and it's all free. I also just am getting into an app that I wrote. There is a link in my bio to join the app, which is also free. And I've been posting daily morsels of books that I've been reading, different things that you can do to tap in, just different hopeful things. So if you are looking for a way to not be scrolling on your phone and get something else, the app is there. You can also interact with other people who are doing shadow work and mindfully aware. I think we've got like 400 people on the app right now. Not all of them are active, but there's like a good chunk that are in there. So if you're looking to connect with online community or with in-person community in the Vancouver, Portland area, join the app. We would love to have you. It's through Spaces is who it's through, but it's the Two Moons app, my app. And there's a link in my bio that will take you there. You might need a code. I'm still trying to figure out how to not make the code there. I don't have a web person. It's literally just little old me. So we're working on it. So if you do get the notification that you need a code, I'll post it. We'll get it posted. Thank you for being here for Mindful Monday. I would say it was a success. It was fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm almost at 10,000 on TikTok too, which is kind of crazy. We'll get there. We'll get there this month by the end of March. Putting that into the universe. Today we read out of Being Peace by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, and we read out of Radical Compassion by Dr. Tara Brach. And next week we'll probably dive into one or two more. We'll probably do Old Path, White Clouds, and Cultivating True Peace, both by Thich Nhat Hanh. Those are just two books I'm reading right now for book clubs, so those will be my focus for a couple days. But you guys will enjoy the Cliff Note benefits of it. Thank you for being here for Mindful Monday, and I will see you next week.